Hey everybody, Mike Rhyner of Your Dark Companion here to talk to you about Al Maximo. Football, soccer, F1, they are our Spanish language show. It features Victor Villalba, the Spanish voice of the Dallas Cowboys and the Dallas Mavericks, and Carlos Nava, ESPN Deportes reporter of NFL, MLB, NBA, boxing, and soccer. They give the majority's look at sports and all that implies. They are Al Maximo. Check them out at patreon.com/Sunset Lounge DFW.
Nobody would have thought that I would be the one. Rhyner, sports talk.
Baseball. Oh, with the big mic. Oh, okay. All right, yeah. Okay, now I get it.
We got a lightning strike, boys. What happened over there, Grego? We had a little lightning strike right outside the window.
All right. Here's a tip for all these Americano League teams.
Wait, you said tip?
Yeah, tip.
Okay.
With a P.
Keep jamming.
The ticket, colon, nothing but a big Gen X jerk-off site.
This is a cool night or what?
Although somebody would hear that and go, bullshit.
I'm back, bitches.
3, 2, 1, go, Mike. Sorry, guys.
All right, I've been told to go, so go we will. Hello. It is another episode of Your Dark Companion. This is episode 97 of these things, we're told. We are inching our way ever so gingerly up to 100. Today is the 31st of March. Tomorrow, the first day of the optional month of April. We'll be very, very glad to see that. But let's worry about that then. Let's worry about what we have in front of us today, now. And what we have is we're going to do a little in-house work here today at Your Dark Companion. We're all part of Stolen Water Media. Your Dark Companion is part of that. We also have another tier of podcasts, as you may or may not know, that is known as the Sunset Lounge. And there you will find the work of those that we've already had on here before, such as Shippy and Groobs, and many others. And today we're going to dip into the Sunset Lounge because we think it's a good idea for you to get to know some of these other podcasts. And we got one called Al Maximo on there today. And it is in Spanish, and it is hosted by Victor Villalba and Carlos Nava. Hi, boys. How are you?
Good, thank you. Happy
With the
to
great
be here.
production of Ivan Zuniga, also known as
Oh,
Boy
yes,
Wonder,
yes.
El Chico Maravilla. That's
Chico
right.
Maravilla.
El Chico Maravilla.
He nailed it.
It's like we say, ¿Dónde estaríamos sin el Chico Maravilla? Which translates to, where would we be without Chico Maravilla? That's the question, and it's not rhetorical.
And that is a question that many have asked about him. You know?
I thought it was because he looks like Robin.
Well, he is definitely. He's the Chico Maravilla. The man is the man.
I feel
Man
so
with
loved.
gout right
I
now.
feel so loved right now.
Well, I mean, you know, the one thing about Ivan is that he really takes ownership, and I've worked with him for a number of years, traveling with the Cowboys and at the stadium, you know, at AT&T and all that, and different shows that we've done, and I'll tell you, it's just a pleasure not only to have him in the Cowboys booth, but also to be able to have Ivan have invited us to become part of this podcast in Espanol, and I love the way you pronounced it, Al Maximo. You sort of took ownership of it.
Well, hey, we try to get with the program, you know? I mean, my knowledge is extremely limited. I will freely admit that, but whatever we do, we try to get with the program. We try to do it the way it's supposed to be done. Now, for those who may not know, and I'm sure our Spanish speakers out there probably are completely, totally 100% on this, but what about the lowly gringo? For the sake of them, tell everybody what you do.
Well, I've been in this market for quite some time, and I've been with the Cowboys for over 20 years now, doing the Spanish play-by-play, along with Luis Fernando Perez, who is the color guy, and then Carlos Nava has been on the sidelines with us for a number of years too, for the home games. He has traveled, also done a few games on the road as a stepping in for Luis. And Ivan and I have worked for a while there. And then somewhere along the way, I picked up the Dallas Mavericks opportunity. So I've been doing the Maverick games for over 20 years, and actually was able to go to the 2006 finals, and then 2011 was the whole championship. So been doing that, and then other odds like PA announcing, and I did a number of seasons with Jose Guzman doing some baseball games for the disappeared Time Warner Cable. So yeah, I've been in this market for a while and just love living in the Metroplex.
You're a guy that I have known of for years. I've seen you at games many, many times over the years. We really didn't know each other. It was we really didn't have any real cause to interact. But I must tell you that getting to know you in the course of this has been both eye-opening and a lot of fun, and it's made me appreciate what you do and how much of it you've done, and just how go-to for it you are in your world.
Yeah, one of the things that I'd like to think is that, and Ivan would testify to this, is that when we go and we're working a game, we give it our all. I mean, no matter what's going on outside the booth, you sort of walk into the booth, you leave everything at the door, and you walk in and you just rock and roll with it. And the one thing I really like about doing what I do is that there's moments when you're so impassioned of what's happening that you're calling a good play of the other team, and you're calling it as if it was the home team, but because it's what we do. I mean, we're trying to bring the excitement to people who are driving down the freeway or in the kitchen or in the office, listening to the game with the audio excellence that Ivan brings, and the effects and everything. So it's been a real opportunity to be able to demonstrate that that excitement comes from within. It comes in here, and you are sharing it, because at the end of the day, it's a God-given gift to be able to just bring that excitement where you listen to a playback and you go, holy smokes, man, I was really losing it there. Whoa.
That's good, though.
Exactly.
Now, I'll get to you in just a second here, Carlos, but there's something here that's a little bit out of whack.
Okay.
And that is Yvonne down there. Yvonne and I crossed paths at the Freak. He was doing tech stuff for them. And I got to know him up there and became a huge, huge appreciator of how good he is at what he does, how into it he is at what he does. But people up there for a while didn't know what to call him. I mean, some called him Ivan, as you do, Victor.
Yeah.
Others called him Yvonne. Still others called him something else entirely. But I didn't know what to do with this. So one day I went up to him and I says, what do you call yourself? He told me Yvonne. So, okay. Then for me, you're Yvonne. But you call him Ivan.
Ivan, yeah.
Is that the way it's always been with you two?
Well, I have a brother. His name is Ivan, and we grew up calling him John for whatever reason. But, I mean, I never called him Ivan. It was always Ivan.
Yeah.
Like, I went to different schools, and all of a sudden someone would walk up and say, hey, where's Ivan? And I'd be like, Ivan? Who's Ivan? Your brother, Ivan. Oh, you mean John. But it was Ivan. It wasn't Ivan. And I grew up in Mexico City and lived in Monterrey, so Spanish and English have been part of my growing up. But, yeah, I call him Ivan.
Okay.
Chico Maravilla, obviously. But
yeah, fair enough, fair enough. That's just kind of blowing my mind a little bit.
I never really thought of that.
See, and the way it happened was our promotions director, whenever I got called on to help out, he called and my voicemail says, hey, you've reached Yvonne, leave a message, whatever. So for years, I mean, up until that time, it was always Yvonne was family house name. All my family called me Yvonne. And at work and at school, it was always Ivan. Ivan. So then, good old Joe, he's the one that brought it up. He's like, well, what's your name? I was like, well, I guess if you want to be technical, it's Ivan. My mom calls me Ivan, so he's like, all right, so that's what I'm going to call you Ivan. So that's why we always had that,
Yeah.
people started telling me, hey, when did you change your name? Oh, I didn't change my name. It's just the pronunciation's a little different now.
And that is because you are Mexican. So in Mexico, normal, or Spain, or whatever, in Spanish, the correct name is Ivan. I call him Ivan since 10 years ago when I first met him. For me, it's even when I'm talking about him, whatever, hey, where is Ivan?
Yeah.
Doesn't matter if it's in Spanish or in English,
Okay, but let me ask you a question. Like Luis Perez, what does he call you? Other than
Honestly, I don't know.
bleep.
No, I think he calls me Ivan too.
Ivan.
I think honestly, there's certain people that it depends who we're talking with or who we're talking to, that I'll get called Ivan or I'll get called Ivan. It just depends. But here lately, I mean, now more than ever, it's been Ivan now.
I never even realized there was a dichotomy there of Ivan and Ivan.
Yeah.
This is all like new to me.
You should have seen the crisis that Ben Rogers fell into when he realized that, because he'd been calling Ivan for years, and all of a sudden, thanks to Joe Cuccinati, confirming that you typically go by Ivan, Ben was like, oh my God, I've been calling him Ivan for like 10 years. Yeah. And Ben's just such a sweet idiot that, he felt like crying almost, I think.
Yeah, like, KT still says, he's like, I'm still going to call you Ivan. He's like, I met you as Ivan and I'm going to continue to call you Ivan. I'm like, all right, bro, that's fine with me. That is fine with me.
Yeah, that's the neat thing about it. He's pretty indifferent to the whole thing.
Yeah. Well, especially now that he's the majority, what does he care what we call him?
That's true. I mean, he knows he's got us.
Yes.
Well, let's turn our attention to Carlos here.
Yeah, I'm Carlos, not Charles, and I'm American. I'm still Carlos.
Now, tell everybody exactly what you're out there doing.
Up to now, I've been in the media for the last 30 years, beginning in Mexico when I was really, really young. I came here because the Dallas Morning News brought me here for the Spanish-speaking newspaper in that time called Al Dia. So the second year working for Al Dia, somebody called me from ESPN because they were planning to launch a Spanish-speaking channel, ESPN Deportes. I said no, thank you very much, because in that time I was just adapting to the American media, all that stuff, and they relocated me. They got me all my working permit, whatever. So my wife said, no, you are not going to quit today. So we have been here for a couple of years, so you need to at least appreciate what they are doing. They said, okay, no, thank you very much. But since then, ESPN started calling me to do some freelancing here and there, especially with the Cowboys, Mavericks, Rangers, but especially the Dallas Cowboys, where they were interested, because the Cowboys are huge in Mexico and huge among the Spanish-speaking media. And now, for the last 14 years, I've been working for ESPN, assigned to ESPN International. Officially, I'm senior on-air talent, senior reporter. What that means, and I'm becoming old. So at the beginning I was, because I
don't even want to hear that.
I never seen any difference since they put me that title. So what I do the most, my main beat should be NFL. Obviously, because I was covering the Dallas Cowboys forever. I've been covering the Cowboys close to Victor and working also sideline with Victor, doing the Cowboys TV shows and all that
Since
stuff.
2003, I want to say.
2004.
2004.
Yeah.
I came back in 2002, and then by 2004, and then Luis came aboard too, and then eventually we got Ivan, and then Manny Basan is also
He
a
got
radio guy.
confused
He's
already.
Huh?
I look like you got confused with Ivan and Ivan.
Oh, no. I was like, what's your name again? How do I say it?
Yeah, and my main
God,
beat
look at the mess I made. I'm sorry.
Yeah, well, my main beat is NFL, but everybody thinks that I just cover the Cowboys. But when I'm not at home with the Cowboys, because I have a contract to do sidelines, normally if the game is not worthy, they prefer me to cover some other team. I cover a lot the 49ers. It depends when the Texans or some other team was doing great and is popular among the Hispanics. Normally, I'm going in to cover, or during training camps, I'm going to 4 or 5 teams around West Coast where the Cowboys also are. And also, I cover a lot of baseball since maybe just a little before the pandemic, I've been doing also kind of broadcasts, basketball, NFL. NFL most of the time I'm in the stadium, but major leagues, for example, tomorrow I'm gonna be part of the broadcast of the LA Dodgers against Atlanta Braves. So I work national or international because the official site where I work for ESPN is the ESPN International.
Yeah.
So I've been doing that for 14 years, 21 years here in this market. Victor also gave me a lot of opportunities when I first came here watching, and I was covering the Cowboys at the beginning, doing the halftime with him. When they moved to the new stadium 15 years ago, they offered me if I would like to be the silent reporter at home. And it's a great deal for me because I don't have the commitment to travel. If my company, my full-time job, want me to cover something else when I'm going to do that. And also I cover a lot of baseball on site and broadcast. Mavericks, during the last couple of years, I haven't been as close as it used to be because I don't know even why. But that's more or less what I do forever. I do al Maximo. I really appreciate this opportunity. We were talking about that like 5 minutes ago. And it's a very good experience, new for me, because I was doing podcasts since 6 years ago, talking just about NFL with one of my friends who also worked for ESPN. But it was like, how do you say, not official, without any schedule, when really amateur podcast, something like that.
So the podcast thing is nothing new to you guys?
No, I mean, I've been doing a podcast with the Cowboys for a number of years now.
Yeah.
And that's called Somos Cowboys. And then the Mavericks also, I've been doing a podcast with them, Somos Mavs.
So they're really creatives, right? Somos?
Yeah, well, you know, the guy from the Spanish voice of the Eagles, a guy named, you'll get a kick out of this, his name is Ricky Ricardo. And there you can call him Ricky Ricardo or you can call him Ricky Ricardo. There's a difference. But anyway, he told me, oh, yeah, Yankees. We used to say Somos Yankees. We took it from you guys. And I'm like, well, you know, everyone's Somos this, Somos that, Somos everything. But yeah, I've been doing podcasts.
Somos means we are.
Yeah, we are. Oh, yes. Yeah. Somos
I knew that, by the way.
Thank you. Thank you. I didn't.
We are Somos. So
help me, Yvonne.
So I've been doing.
Help me out here.
There you go. So I've been doing a number of podcasts, but this experience is a different experience for me because it's really a project that Ivan came to me, and I first thought of Carlos, and this is all under the Patreon, Stolen Water. And what's the last one again? The
Sunset Lounge.
Sunset Lounge. Thank you. Yes, but the thing is that Ivan was the one that brought us into this opportunity, and it's more of a, how would you say, a commercially viable opportunity as opposed to an institutional opportunity, such as the Cowboys represents or the Mavericks represents.
Right.
That's more like institutional. This is more like, whoa, let's see what happens. This is fun, man. Let's rock and roll.
In my case, this is the... I've been with the podcast also with the Cowboys. Besides what I do for Sideline, I do the TV show with Victor also for the Cowboys, the weekly TV show, one segment over there. And also the Somos Cowboys podcast, because that Somos Cowboys podcast began like an informal kind of Instagram lives with Amber Garcia.
She's the title.
She works for the Cowboys.
She manages the digital side of the Cowboys in Espanol.
So we were doing that maybe for a couple of years, just she and I. And after that, she told me, hey, you know what? They accepted the proposal of doing a Cowboys formal Somos Cowboy podcast. But as Victor said, it's really, really different. Going into the studio, talking about just the Cowboys. And when the pandemic began, my friend Pablo Viruega and I, he's the color analyst for Monday Night Football with ESPN in Spanish. Mm-hmm. We have been friends since we were 6 years old. And we work for ESPN now, reporting to the same boss. But none of us bring the other guy with him to ESPN. It was just casualty of life or whatever. During the pandemic, we were really, really bored. And he told me, hey, why not doing a kind of Instagram live or whatever? Okay. Now we have 6 years doing this, 5 years doing this, but completely uninformal. Mm-hmm. So when we have time, hey, how are you tomorrow? No, we are okay. Okay, let's do it. Doing not like all this production. We have an app in the phone, and we do that. He mounted that in some platforms.
Yeah.
And that's it. That's it.
Yeah.
How do you guys know? I mean, how long have you guys known each other, and how did you meet?
Well, I've been in this market for a number of years, like I had mentioned. Now,
Yes.
I've had 2 periods with the Cowboys. The second period was 2002. I returned. The late John Chang. Do you remember John Chang? He was the director of broadcasting. Of
I remember the name. I don't think I ever met him.
He passed away in 2002 after the season. He brought me back in the summer, and then I went down to San Antonio, and then I did that season, and then continued. Now, Carlos came into play when he came in with the Dallas Morning News, and I've always, in a manner of speaking, I'm the executive producer of the Spanish radio properties.
Yeah.
From the standpoint of television and radio. And when Carlos came to town, I met Carlos, and being that the Dallas Morning News is a partner of the Cowboys, you want to use talent that are part of your partnerships. Like, for example, Telemundo is our partner, TV partner. So I would use their talent. And so when Calos came into town, I thought, hey, this would be great. So we started really with a Desperado show. Mm-hmm. We started doing a Desperado show from the studio, and it was kind of a fun show. And then we started doing the TV show, and then we gave Carlos a segment, which is the hot seat. And then we started doing the sideline records. So we got to know each other in that standpoint. Now, when I first started, we had an engineer, and and then all of a sudden he had to leave. And Manny Basan became our producer at one point. Anyway, Manny knew we needed a new engineer, so he brought Ivan along. And I mean, Ivan really wowed us from the very beginning, from the standpoint of taking ownership of something that before, with the other engineers, like, hey, does this sound okay? And he's like, yeah, sounds good to me. Okay. In this case, it's like, no, it does not sound good. As a matter of fact, you need to get closer to the microphone, you dolt. Coming from him, like taking ownership, like, hey, watch what you're doing.
Hey, the young fellows like that.
Yes, but see, Ivan has this talent of knowing exactly what's right and what's not right, and that's why it's great to have Ivan, because when you go to a stadium and they're trying to say, well, it's got to be this way, and Ivan says, no. That's not the way it's going to be here. So anyway, we got to know Ivan, and then Luis Perez, who's our color guy, and he does the shows with me, and he's been with us forever. He came to Telemundo. The general manager of Telemundo said, hey, this new guy's coming in. You're going to really like him. I got to know Luis, brought him in immediately. He was sideline reporter for a while, for a few seasons, because I had a guy that was doing it. And then I asked Luis to come up to the booth, and that's how we sort of made this whole Keiretsu happen.
And in my case, it was very, very helpful to meet Victor, because I never did TV before I met him on regular basis. I'm coming from the newspaper industry, so I used to write. Well, I'm still writing, because I also have a couple of columns with ESPNDeportes.com. But he was the first guy who gave me the opportunity to begin doing TV and doing sideline on regular basis. Now, for example, with ESPN, I'm considered one of the sideline reporters for NFL, because I began with the Cowboys. And almost like 13 years ago with the Rangers, when the World Series Rangers seasons, John Blake, the VP of communication with the Rangers, called me at once. Hey, Carlos, you want to do color analysis for the Rangers in the booth? Because you are covering the Rangers almost every single day in Spanish, and we're going to need somebody. Because Jose Guzman was jumping to TV with Victor. Right. So I did a couple of seasons with the Texas Rangers. When ESPN at some point hired me, in my resume was that I was doing baseball for a couple of season colors. So now when they needed, like 5 years ago, a guy who does some games in Spanish and colors, the director of talent in ESPN said, hey, Carlos, I remember that you told me that you were working with the Rangers, right? Yeah. Tomorrow this is your first game doing baseball for international. So really, for me, it has been great meeting Victor and the old good times, Luis and Ivan. He's the guy in charge of putting me on the air when I'm in sideline, testing the equipment like for 30 seconds, no more than that. So really, we have been really, really close all this year working together. Even in the old good times, even getting party together also.
Yeah.
So, what is the reaction amongst the people that you talk to been like? I mean, what kind of audience have you gotten with this podcast so far, and what do you do on it, and how do they react to it? I guess is what I'm trying to get at.
I would defer that to Ivan because I think Ivan would have the outside perspective of that.
Okay.
I mean, getting to work with these guys throughout the football season, I mean, me knowing them personally is always football. But behind, I guess, the microphone, I know that they know so many more things about so many things other than just football.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why whenever this opportunity came up and I was like, hey, let's get this thing going. I was like, all right, for sure. Like, I was like, Victor, and I thought of Carlos. And when I talked to Victor about it, he's like, yeah, that sounds great. So, yeah, it's great because we don't, like we said at the beginning of the show, we don't have to stick with just football. Like we touch on football a little bit, then we'll talk about soccer, we'll talk about basketball, we'll talk about F1, we'll talk about boxing, we'll talk about, whatever. So it's been good, and the interaction we get on social media, it's great. Carlos has a lot of good friends that have played professional or sports. So one of them, on one of the episodes, we brought him. He came up in topic, talked about him, and sure enough, he liked our video and said thanks for talking about us. And social media people are always like, hey, when's the next episode coming out? I'll be honest, I'm not as interactive as I wish I could be, just because I have so many things going on. But yeah, I mean, people are always hitting us up and when's the next episode, or
that's good,
this and that. So it's good. We're getting good feedback. And
you know what? This is what one of the most important needs of Al Maximo. A lot of people were just thinking that we were football or major leagues, or maybe in my case, because I cover a lot of boxing, high-profile fights.
Mm-hmm.
But now they can realize that we know soccer. We talk a lot about soccer because the Hispanics love soccer. We cover a lot of some specific things with soccer national teams. For example, I've been blessed, and since Lionel Messi just first came here to the United States, ESPN thought that I will be the guy, maybe because the Dallas Cowboys crowd media around the team, that I should be the guy covering him. So yeah. I travel a lot of that. So the people is realizing what we know and we can do in Al Maximo, that is not just NFL or major leagues or basketball, NBA podcast. And they know now that we can have fun, because we try to do it like a casual conversation between two old friends. And sometimes we start talking about memories,
Yeah.
That's
growing up in Mexico, and
that's the way it's supposed to be.
And that's what I told the guys too. I was like, man, I was like, let's not have like to every show, every podcast, there's a little bit of a structure to it,
mm-hmm.
but it's not like working, a structure show
in a sports center.
Like exactly, it's not a sports center to where
Right.
it's like
it's not an institutional
it's like, hey
feel.
guys, let's
It's like
here's our little
let's go.
topic. Let's run through this a little bit, but so we'll talk about whatever, and then the guys are like, oh yeah, it reminded me of when I was a kid about this, and then they just go off on their thing, and it's great. It's and people really catch on and will comment about the stuff that they talk about.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I remember, I had the same experience too as a kid, or
mm-hmm.
My experience was a little different or whatever.
Even
but yeah.
was the way that my friend, who used to be a professional player for Club America, saw that in my social media. And I remember when I was a kid, one of my friends grew up playing since minor leagues to the first team and national team. And he reported and put his comment in Al Maximo. Thank you very much for talking about me. I thought that nobody remembered me because I retired like 20 years ago.
He is Carlos Nava. He is Victor Villalba. He is Ivan Zuniga. And now it is time for me to do the dreaded mid-show read. We are proud to announce our new partnership with the Frisco Rough Riders.
Yes.
All shows with Stolen Water Media will make appearances on certain theme nights, and at least one show will be there every Thursday home game for Thirsty Thursdays when the Lazy River is 21 and up. And we're kicking off this partnership with a ticket giveaway. We got 4 tickets to the Rough Riders opening day. That is this Friday, April 4th. 7:05 would be first pitch. Now, every show has tickets to give away. If you don't get them with this show, hey, try another. Could happen for you. Here's how you win. Go follow your dark companion and the Rough Riders on Instagram. Like one of our giveaway posts and tag the friend you want to take. And I guess that's it. I guess it's all
Pretty
for
much,
the,
yeah, okay.
for the mid-show read. Did that make sense?
That was
Everybody
great.
understand that?
Total
You nailed it,
sense.
Choopy.
Yes.
Yeah.
Did
I
I?
like the opening. It sounded very ominous.
I know.
Like, don't, don't.
Yeah, I'm good with ominous. That's one thing I do.
We're
pretty
trying to
well.
match your energy, Victor. We're trying to match your energy.
It's hard to do.
Hey.
We got to make everything exciting.
Sorry, it's just.
Yeah.
It happens. I can't help
That's
myself.
one of the things that I'm impressed since 21 years ago. The Victor is 120%. Every
the
single
time.
minute, doesn't matter if
All
he
the time.
went to do play-by-play for the Mavericks and playoff every single day, traveling here and there. I never seen Victor in a slow motion, never, or regular motion. So he's like this always.
And
All
you
the
know,
time.
and yeah, well, that to me is a compliment because I don't notice it. I really don't. I mean, there's times when I'm calling a play and it gets so crazy that I start seeing stars and stuff. It's like, whoa, you know. But because the
And
moment,
that's not a figure of speech. He's literally he'll make a call and then he'll sit in the booth. We'll go to commercials or whatever. He's like, oh, man. I was out on that one, huh? I was
Blacked out for a
yeah, bro,
second.
you were.
No, but then sometimes I'll turn around and look at Manny or look at Ivan and I'll say, man, why do I have to yell all the time? And they look at me like, what? Are you kidding? But the one thing I will say about working with Calos is that Calos and I have a symbiotic relationship when it comes to being on the air because for example, he's our sideline reporter for the Cowboy games, and Calos is really plugged in to being on the sideline. He's been there for so long. He knows the coaches, the players know him. He has a certain rapport. He knows the people that work on the field. So he moves around freely. Now, the one thing I will say about our broadcast is that when Calos is on the field, we, both Luis and I, will go to him at any moment. At any moment. There's no like, hey, I have something, and hey, Ivan will say to me, hey, Victor, Calos has something. It's like, no. It's like, hey, Calos, you're right there. What's happening? I mean, boom.
Yeah.
So we will go to Calos 3, 4, 5, 6 times in a quarter. I mean, literally.
You'll just toss it to him.
Just
Yeah.
toss it to him. I mean, it's like, boom, you're there. So I told Calos from the very beginning, and Calos, you know this for sure, because I remember you looked at me like, okay. I said, listen, pal, like that. Listen, pal. Executive producer Victor, right? Listen, pal, you got to be ready all the time. Like, if I throw to you, you have to have 1, 2, or 3 things that you're going to go to immediately. Because I'm just throwing it to you without, hey, they say in Spanish, sin decir agua va, which without saying, hey, watch out. You know, it's like, woo. So anyway, so I throw it on to him all the time. Now, when Ivan came to me, and Calos is always just on spot with
Always got something.
always has something, but very relevant. Like if there's a play and he's standing right there, I mean, hey, Calos, what's happening? So anyway, when Ivan came to me with the idea of this podcast, I mean, I'd been doing the Cowboy podcast, the Maverick podcast, and you know, and I thought, oh, okay, this sounds good. I immediately thought of Calos, and the reason is because this last year in Pittsburgh, the Cowboys beat the Steelers up there.
Mm-hmm.
You remember there was like a thunderstorm and everything. Do you remember all that? that they had to step away from the players had to go back into the locker rooms. There was like a 40-minute break.
No.
Right, 40
No,
minutes.
it was much longer than
Okay,
that.
it was long. I want to say
It was almost 2 hours.
Okay, but we basically got into a holding pattern, and Carlos and I were on the air for like a period of like 40 minutes, literally, during that period, where I basically said, I basically told Carlos during the break, okay, we're going to come back and we're going to go just through the schedule of the games that happened, because this was it a Monday night game or a Sunday night game? Sunday night game. So that you had the whole schedule of Thursday games, the Sunday games. So we just went game by game by game, and I was just throwing it to Carlos, and he would start, this and that and the other, this game. So we spent like maybe literally 5 to 7 minutes with each game, but we had so much to talk about in each game, and we went doing the whole just killing time. So that's, along when Ivan said, hey, you want to do a podcast, I thought immediately of Carlos, because Carlos lives in a world where anything can happen, and he's ready. Because like Ivan said, a lot of what we do in our podcast on Al Maximo, which remember has the upside down exclamation point and the other exclamation point with the accent. So it's not Al Maximo, it's Al Maximo, like that, right? So when we go, when Carlos and I start, I don't even know. Like when we do the hot seat on the Cowboy show, I don't even know what I'm going to ask him right before we go on the air.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, ready, here we go. It's like, aquí estamos de regreso, qué bueno que nos acompañe, la silla caliente con el gran Carlos Nava. So I start throwing stuff to him, and Carlos has no idea, because I have no idea. So the fact that we can do that really adds to the, like what Ivan was saying, to the colloquialism of the show. It seems just very real to someone who has lived that same experience of what we're talking about.
For me, that is the only way to do something like this. Yes. In our radio days, we would get together before the show and we would figure out what we were going to talk about.
Correct.
But that was it.
Correct.
We didn't talk about it in there in the room. And when it came time, I had no idea what Grego or whoever I may have been working, Corby, whoever I may have been working with, was going to say about it. They didn't know what I was going to say about it. That's the way you keep it fresh. It's the only way to do this. And it sounds like you guys buy into that pretty heavily.
For example, on Cowboys game on the sideline from the beginning, that's helping me a lot, because it's going to make me feel like I'm part of the booth, being in the sideline.
Totally.
No, like, for example, when we were doing some sideline on TV, was the producer, I don't remember his name, with the Cowboys, say, Carlos, maybe in a couple of segments you're going live, so be prepared. You have something. I remember I told him, hey, you know what? I always have something, being humble.
No, but that's not the Cowboys broadcast.
No, I was in the Cowboys, but in TV. When the preseason game.
Oh, the preseason.
At the beginning, and they wanted me to work with a producer.
Kevin Timmons.
Yeah, then I went to Kevin at some point. You know what? Put my micro on and tell Victor that I'm on, and we start doing also in TV, like, hey, okay, Carlos, what happened over there? Hey, what's going on? Who is warming up over there? I said, okay, we are talking now, because if not with the producer, I was almost sleeping in the field. When I'm doing sideline for somebody else with all this formality of the producer, say what you have, I said, you know what, I prefer being in the press box than being here, because it's really bored. In the other part, because my regular job, normally I need to be aware of what is happening in the sports, because also all this happening with Victor and the Cowboys and the Rangers has helped me to be more or less trained to replace guys sometimes. For example, I told Victor that last week I was in a day off, completely off, because I was moving out of my house. Mm-hmm. When somebody called me, Carlos, can you be in 2 hours, because we're going to have Florida again. I don't even remember who. Yeah, just give me 2 hours. I'm going to be ready to replace the guy because the color analyst was sick. So I did it from my house, part of the broadcast. But all this coming from the way that Victor is normally 100 and 120% revolutions speed, you know? So even in my formal job, everybody said, no, we know that this guy doesn't need all these formalities or producers around here. Even Ivan has seen when I'm even by myself with a phone being live for Sports Center Mexico, for example. Because Victor taught me how to survive without all these formalities around me.
Right.
It's a direct line. We just rock and roll. And then Luis has been doing the games with us for a long time too, and he's the guy that sort of keeps us straight sometimes, right?
Yeah.
It's like, okay, enough of this circus, all right? This isn't the Victor sitcom, all right? This is not your show, Victor, all right? Come on. But Luis is extraordinary. He's so prepared, punctual. He's always just on note. Whenever we travel, he's the one with the coat and the tie and looking GQ and everything. And I mean, Luis has really raised our level of visibility of how serious we are about what we do. Not because we're not serious, but he has a serious look about him.
Right.
Right?
Yeah. He's walk in and I make fun of him at times. You know, whenever there's that scene on Bad Boys when Mike comes out with his suit and Martin goes, he's like, "What are you, coming out of GQ magazine?" I mean, that's Luis all the time. He's got his tie on perfect all the time. His suit's on perfect all the time. The guy looks like $1 million.
Yeah, he really in a lot of respects, it's great to have somebody of that coutier, if you will, because it raises the visibility of what we do. Because I'm not the one raising the visibility, believe me.
And then
I know I need a haircut, and so what, right?
You got great hair, man. Keep
let
that.
it flow.
Roll with that as long as you can.
Well,
as long as it'll cooperate, roll with it.
Yeah, because if Luis was sitting here, he'd say, "Dude, you need a haircut." But no. Hey, Luis Perez, man, we love him. We're so blessed to have him as part of the broadcast, and it's been 20 years have gone like that, man. It's just been so. And the only thing is, it'd be nice to get to that promised land, something like that, to where maybe we're part of a parade because something really big happened.
Yeah, that'd be pretty neat.
Wouldn't that be neat?
Yeah.
Would that be cool, everybody?
Yeah. They tell me those things are neat.
Yeah.
So is this something, Carlos, that you grew up as a boy wanting to do, or did you?
I love sports. I was born this, and I know myself. I play American football, living and growing up in Mexico. I play since I was 6 until college. Even I got a scholarship in one of the most expensive schools in Mexico, playing American football as cornerback. I don't look like that, but I used to be fast. So I love football. My father used to play also. He was a former American football player in Mexico, in college also, for the most important program over there, the same program that I play, Pumas, in Mexico. So I always was in the middle of sports, whatever. I also play a lot of ping pong, but I went to the university games playing ping pong here and there because
table tennis.
American football was part of my life. I'm playing baseball for at least 10 years in Mexico. But I never thought being a journalist, being very honest. I wanted to be engineer, until I went my first year to college for engineer and said, you know what, I don't want to be this. It's too difficult. Because I needed to practice, training or whatever. And one of my friends, my dad's friends, told me, you know what, I have a TV commercials production house. You want to come with me? So I quit to the engineer career and I began again in communications. So at the beginning, when I was done with that, I came to United States for my master's degree in Orlando, in UCF. Mm-hmm. When I came back, I didn't want to work in the newspaper or whatever. I wanted to looking for something else. I wasn't sure what I wanted. I wanted to come back to United States because I like the way and you can live here. And I'm not going to tell you that I was dreaming. My mother is half American and half Greek. Mm-hmm. So I was not. So one of my dad's friends told me, hey, I'm the director in a newspaper in Mexico. It's not too big, whatever, but maybe you can have a job there. Because everybody wants asking me for experience. So, hey, how am I going to have experience if nobody's going to give me a job? So I was working there for 2 years, when in the 3rd year was my lucky day, because one guy called me, hey, you know what? There is a Mexican driver, Adrian Fernandez, was like Checo Perez now. he was driving IndyCar when IndyCar was really, really special. Was the main motorsport here in the United States. Said, you speak more or less English, you can understand. You have visa to travel? Yes, I have it. Okay, you're going to cover this guy. So I was traveling all over the United States, covering IndyCar with Adrian Fernandez for the Galley Racing team, from whatever he ran. So I met some people over there, and at some point, one of them said, you know what? There is a job in San Diego with the San Diego Union Tribune. They want a bilingual guy, but most fluent in Spanish and English. Whatever. So they gave me the job. And 5 years later, the Dallas Morning News called me. And that's because I'm here, but I never planned to be journalist or whatever. Even my dad used to say, you know what? You are not going to get money from that. So because my dad used to be in the other side. He was the guy for a national company like Macy's in Mexico, giving the media the advertising. So the media outlet were, hey, Mr. Nava, we are a nice TV station. We want to advertise in your business in ours or whatever. So he was exactly the other part of this business. So some of his friends were to they gave me the first opportunities, and at the end I said, you know what, this is bigger than I thought, because being an American football player in Mexico, you dream with being in the middle of the Texas Stadium in that time, knowing major leagues. I came to watch my first Super Bowl when I was 11 with my dad, because some of his sponsors or whatever invited us, and I went with him to LA to watch the Steelers to play in the Rose Bowl, a Super Bowl, I think it was the Rose Bowl, Super Bowl, whatever. So now this has been above my expectations, because I've been in a lot of stadiums, knowing people. Even 2 days ago, I told my wife, you know what, for a guy growing up in Mexico City, dreaming how the stadiums in the NFL, how the players will be or whatever, because I was a player there. Now, always when I'm going to the stadium, oh yeah, another big day here in the office. So, but I never planned in my life, not even living in the United States full time, not covering American sports, and not even being a journalist. And I'm consider myself a journalist because I'm coming from the newspaper industry.
Sure. How about you, Victor? How'd you fall into this?
Oh, it's just well, it's kind of a long story, but I'll give you the cliff notes. How about that?
Okay.
Well, my parents are Colombian. My father passed away a few years ago, and my mother is still with us, living in San Diego. They're Colombian. Now, they met in New York because my mother had moved there with my grandmother, who had divorced, and they moved to Jackson Heights, Bayside, Queens. And my dad was he was a recipient of a scholarship that he actually received in the Oval Office from Dwight D. Eisenhower, signing this document to go to Kings Point because he was in the Colombian Navy. After playing professional soccer in Colombia, he didn't see a future in that, so he went to the Navy. He ends up going to Kings Point. Well, my dad meets my mom, and I mean, forget about it. They grew up in the same places. My mom a little more on the aristocratic side. My dad, basically a guy shining shoes and stuff. I mean, self-made man to the max. I mean, you read my father's story of how he rose to the heights of corporate America, managing a air conditioning business in Mexico, et cetera, et cetera. So we end up moving to Mexico City when I was 6. So I went to the American school where they have half the day in English and half the day in Spanish. So the fluency that I have, I'm very blessed with the fact that I really don't have an accent both in English nor in Spanish. So because sometimes when you're listening to somebody calling a game in Spanish, you get a little bit of an accent, maybe an Argentinian accent, maybe a Spanish from Spain accent, but my accent, if you will, is very Mexican but very neutral. But I grew up in Mexico City, just like Carlos, watching all sports. I mean, everything. The World Series. My parents were always big sports fans. The Ali fights, We weren't much into basketball, but back in the 70s, I'm more of a contemporary of yours. Back in the 70s, you didn't really see much basketball, but we would get a Saturday baseball game. Remember those days?
Sure,
When there was
absolutely.
only one game a week,
Yes.
and it was on Saturday afternoon, and you made sure that you didn't have anything to do because you wanted to watch the game.
Yeah.
And then
And
when
you didn't care who was playing.
you didn't care. And then they started with the center field shot, and
Yeah.
that's changed everything because that's when you were like, oh, wow, look at the pitch, how it moved and this and that. So anyway, I grew up that way, and I grew up listening to the broadcasters of then Televisa and the football and the baseball broadcasters, etc. So I had that in my back in the back of my mind the whole time. So anyway, I go off to go to school, Texas Tech. I get a finance degree. I end up, working in different brokerage houses, and then I end up getting a job. I get married, and I bring my wife from Monterrey up to Dallas, and then I end up getting a job in Monterrey as a corporate treasurer for a Mexican-Japanese joint venture. And I mean, this ended up, when I left, it was like a $600 million business. So I'm the corporate treasurer guy. I'm the money guy, I'm the guy who signs the checks and stuff like that. And okay, I mean, kind of a little bit of a prestigious thing, coat and tie and everything. But I got to a point where I really wasn't too into it. But anyway, so along the way, one of my wife's cousins and I would get together and watch football and knock back a few beers and watching football, and we would supposedly do the play-by-play. And I'd be like, bueno, aquí estamos llegando ustedes, claro, desde el lugar de los hechos, el equipo de los Cowboys ante el equipo de los 49. And we just have fun with it, okay? So I noticed that I had this sort of like bling thing going.
Yeah.
Okay, where I could just let it rip, Yeah. So I found out, and it's a little deeper story, but I'll just make it really quick. But I found out from somebody that the government-owned TV and radio station were looking for a radio guy to do the game in a studio via TV. Back then they didn't split the audio. You would get the broadcast from the United States for television with the audio with John Madden and Pat Summerall and the crowd, and you're talking over them. I mean, for years, I grew up watching TV with that same scenario.
Yeah.
And being bilingual, sometimes I'd listen to the English, sometimes I'd listen to the Spanish. I mean, they were both there. The English was a little lower, but the Spanish was there. So anyway, I grew up with that particular type of lingo. Because when I finally got a hold of this guy, the producer, he said, okay, we want to do these games because they were doing it for TV. They had the rights, and they want to do it for radio on an AM. So I met Rafael Carrion. I got in touch with somebody who told me, talk to this guy. So I went into his office. I'm working in an office. I get in my car during my lunchtime to go see this guy. And we sit down, and he's like, oh, okay, so, all right. And he puts a tape in, and tape runs, and I'm like, aquí estamos llegando ustedes, claro, blah, blah, blah. And I just start going with it, and in 20 seconds, okay, you got the job. You're the man. So I start doing these radio broadcasts. With this other guy that I met and everything. And, I was just having fun with it. And then I got this radio show. And so I got to the point where my wife and I we knew that I needed change. So we really prayed about it. And I was shown an opportunity, go to Dallas. My brother lived here. And I was able to get a job in TV. And then I got a job in PR. And then I got a job with the Cowboys. Just because I was sort of in the right place at the right time. So that's how I got my start. But I do realize that there was a moment when I was doing a game and something happened. There was like an interception or something like that. And I said something, and I work in this conscious subconscious thing going, because as I'm talking and doing the play-by-play or whatever, my subconscious is still alive, even though I'm doing this physical thing. So at that moment when I was saying that, I thought to myself, I didn't know that, but I just said it. But my subconscious is like, I didn't know that, but I just said it. You see what I'm saying? So it's kind of like you're driving down the freeway, you're listening to the radio, you're kind of singing the song a little bit, you're thinking about what you're going to have for lunch, and you're thinking about what you're going to do later, all at the same time you're driving 70 miles an hour down 75. Okay, so all this stuff is happening. So I did realize that the innate God-given gift that I feel very proud to thank God for is the fact that you just jump in and you don't even know, like you said earlier, you know what you're going to talk about, but you don't know how you're going to get there.
Right.
So that's that. I mean, to me, the moment I came to that realization is when my broadcasting career began. When I came to the realization that, hey, dude, make sure you know who everybody is, but don't connect the dots. Let the dots run. You know.
Yeah.
Don't feel like you have to, button everything down. Have fun with it.
Yeah. You got a story, Yvonne?
Well, my story is nowhere near as interesting as these guys, but I mean, if you I always get asked, how did I get started in radio? I actually never really thought about being on radio. I thought I was going to be the next Tiesto, next Bad Boy Bill, be a DJ.
Awesome.
My cousin got me into DJing at 14, and when I graduated high school.
You grew up here, right?
Right. Bryan Adams. I graduated from Bryan Adams.
Ah, the DISD.
Yep, good old DISD education. Once I graduated high school, I didn't know what I wanted to do. I knew I wasn't good at school, so that wasn't, a very, good option. But my cousin was working at Univision here in Dallas already, and one day I'm literally laying down in bed asleep. It's like 12 in the afternoon, and he calls me. He's like, "Hey, what are you doing?" I was like, "Well, nothing. I'm just
sleeping in the middle of the day.
mid-afternoon at the house." He was like, "Hey, my job is hiring. Are you interested in a job?" I was like, "Yeah, I'm tired of my mom telling me to get a job." So I was like, "I'll go up and get a job." So I started working at Univision as a promotions kid. Radio. Yeah. Univision Radio. And I was just a kid hanging out, throwing banners on the wall.
Sure.
Hey, we're here, handing out the free T-shirts. And me being, I always say it's nosy. Me being nosy, I started seeing, I got to work with Domino, a guy that was on the radio here for a long time. I listened to him forever. So he was like the first person that I was like, oh my God, like I listened to this guy all the time. So got to work with Domino and started kind of getting the itch to be on air. And I did that for a little bit, but I was more gravitated to the technical side.
Yeah.
Like all the engineering stuff. So whenever we would do remotes, it's not like the freak remotes or, talk show. It was more of a music station. So they were more just cut-ins, right? So there would be a talent out for 2 hours, and there would be a talent on a Saturday show, right?
Yeah.
So right before commercials, I'd be on the phone with the talent, and hey, you're about to go, do your 1 minute, live read for, you're at the Michoacana, you're at, Gomez Western Wear, wherever we were at, you would do that, and I would, see that the engineer would be like, on the phone and look at the levels and tell the talent, all right, go. And then count and, count down to 10 seconds. Like, well, how does all that work? And just started being nosy and just started hanging around. And actually, I was going to tell him this Victor actually doesn't even, I don't know if he remembers, but I started knowing Victor and talking to Victor back in 2000, I think it was 2007. Okay. It was the Mavs broadcast, and it was on 1270 AM, La Voz. And he had a board op named Ram.
Oh, Ram.
And Ram showed me how to run the board.
Yeah, Ram.
And then that started, and, I was like, well, who's running the board for him on his end? And he's like, well, he doesn't have a board on that side,
I have a board, but not a person.
So then that just got me more intrigued, and I would talk to Victor. Then he would let me send Victor cues down the board, but I don't think Victor remembers or even knew that was me at the time. But I would go in there on my, I sound like an old man, but I tell people now that all these kids nowadays want to start, making money and starting hot already. I was like, I started learning just on my own time. Hey, Ivan had the day off on Wednesday, but why is he at the station, in the studio with these guys? Well, because I wanted to learn, and I just sit in there and just learn and learn and learn. And then from there, I stopped working at Univision in 2009. New station comes into town called Mega 107.5. And at the time, the talent was in Houston. And they didn't have like the, technology was, even though it wasn't that long ago, they didn't have like the actual like voice tracking as good as you can do now.
Yeah.
So I would have to cut up she would do her voice, send it to me, and I would cut it up in Vox Pro. And I would run the board, play it off of Vox Pro, blend in the music, time it out to where the outro, matches, the beginning of the intro of the next song, and that way there was no gap in between.
Who taught you how to do that?
Just being nosy and sticking and staying, So that's how I got that job, because they needed a producer. And I was like, well, I've never produced anything. I don't know how to produce. Jesus, which was at La Calle, he was like, yeah, you do. He's like, everything you've learned here is
production.
It's production. And I was like, okay, cool. Manny, which is our producer for Cowboys, he was over there. He was like, hey, come on over here. I was like, all right, cool. So I get there. I literally go in for an interview. The PD meets me at the elevator. He's like, so what do you know how to do? I was like, oh, I know how to do this. He's like, you know how to work Vox Pro? Yep. Literally walks me into the booth, hands me the log, the paper log of the music, tells me there's the audio file, cut it up and let me see you do it live. I was like, okay, sure. And that's how I got into there. Well, then a year later, PD gets let go. And then he gets to, next PD comes in. And what do PDs want? They want to bring in their own people. So they're like,
changes everything.
Yeah. So then he's like, we're no longer going to need you because I'm going to bring in somebody local. And I'm like, snap. I'm without a job now. And I'm like, well, I know how to engineer. Thinking engineering, right? Back what I knew engineering was just plugging in 2 cables into the back of the Zephyr and being live from the club, So I had, that's when I met my mentor, Ted Nichols Payne. And
the great TNP.
Yeah,
oh, man.
That's
Teddy,
when I met him.
We miss you, brother.
And he showed me everything, and he opened up my mind to like what I know now. And that's how I started. I mean, it was that. So that was a little bit with on air, but I got gravitated more to the behind the scenes, technical side.
Well, I'll tell you what, you guys are a trip.
And we speak English. We're dangerous, man.
And I'm really, really glad to have you on board with this thing.
We're very excited. Well, I'm speaking for myself, but I also feel I'm speaking for Calos and for Ivan. I mean, this is great. It's a great opportunity, and more than anything, it brings us closer together. Calos, Ivan, and I, to where we've been doing the shows. For example, at my home, where my wife commissioned these shelves to be made by my son-in-law. He did a great job. So it looks really good, and it's just a sense of pride to getting a little tingly here because my late wife would be ecstatic knowing that her shelves are part of the show. Is that that we get to share this together from the standpoint of it's not a like Calos said, it's not a cowboy show, it's not a Maverick show, it's a show about you because we're talking about what you want to talk about.
Which is the way it should be.
Exactly. And I'll tell you, I couldn't be more blessed than having Calos along because Calos, the one thing about Calos, and I'm going to say this, I hope it doesn't sound, uppity or anything, but Calos understands me. He knows how to work with me from the standpoint that, when I open the show and then, here we are, Ivan Zuniga, the super producer, et cetera, et cetera. Calos has no idea where I'm going. You have no idea. But see, that's the thing about Calos is that he's very adaptable, knowing that if we're not having fun doing this, guess what? Nobody's having fun.
Yeah.
Nobody.
You know what that means? That means you got chemistry together.
Yes.
And that is everything. When it comes to doing something like this, when it comes to doing something like radio, and you're working with other people and they're on the air with you, you got to have chemistry.
Amen.
You got to have chemistry, and you got to have somebody who can build and develop chemistry. If you don't have that, you're not going to make it, man. That's all there is to it. They are the greatness of Al Maximo. Did I do that right?
You gotta say
Is that
it.
okay?
Al Maximo.
Al Maximo.
There you go. There you go. Because remember, there's an accent on that A. Al Maximo.
It's got two exclamation points. Got to make
upside
it work.
down, upside down.
Yeah,
Exactly.
it's a whole thing.
Even if you don't speak the language, they're a trip. You need to check them out. If you do speak the language, well, they're talking to you, man. They're talking to you. They're talking for you. They are your connection to what we got going here at Stolen Water Media. Cannot thank you boys enough for coming on here
Thank
with
you
us
for the
today.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate this.
And beyond that, thanks to Shuby, thanks to Ashley, thanks to Becca, thanks to Mickey, thanks to all the people with us here at Stolen Water Media. I'm Mike Rhyner. Bye.
All right. I'm gonna go take my pants off.
Your Dark Companion is a Stolen Water Media presentation.